our two special guests. He played Captain Benjamin Sisko in 7 seasons of Star Trek. Ladies and gentlemen, my honor to welcome Mr. Avery. Ladies and gentlemen, our next special guest is the actor who has appeared in character in more episodes of Star Trek than any other. Here for his second time in Atlanta, ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure, Mr. Michael Dorn. So, how did your flight in? Had a good trip so far? What do you think of Atlanta? You like the hotel? All right. You have. As a matter of fact, I have a little souvenir from your last visit here to Atlanta. Do we have that for the audience to show? 1992. We made an appearance at a place called, I believe it was Dixie Trak. So that was a lot of fun. I remember that. And you have some background here in Atlanta. You have some history with the city, if I'm not mistaken.
I was artistic director of the National Trak Arts Festival in 1996. We did the 94 and 96 festival.
You don't do a lot of conventions, is my understanding. So we're very pleased to have you here for DragonCon, and I'm sure our audience is as well. Now, Michael, I didn't mean for that to be a backward way of saying, well, you do a lot of conventions. But you, yeah, you might want to talk closer to the microphone when you say things like that.
Microphones are
There we go. Thank you.
Started with the next generation. We're totally unaware of the convention. I mean, we kind of heard about it, but really wasn't aware of it. And then I did my first in '88, and it was just like a shock. I just realized the intensity of the convention. And so from then on, when you're a working actor, and they invite you to all these places, you kind of go. And then it became like a second job. So, where every weekend there's a convention someplace. It got bigger and bigger and bigger until it is what it is today. So it's kind of crept up on us.
Well, then I have to ask that you had been doing your series Next Generation for about 6 years when Deep Space Nine came along. 5 years. 5 years.
6 years, I'm sorry.
5 or 6. And then you had been doing yours for about the same amount of time when Voyager come along. Did you take the new cast aside and say, hey, there's these things called Star Trek conventions, and we need to warn you about these because we have some weird people that have been asking all kinds of crazy questions? Here comes the microphone.
No. one said a word.
Well, I have to say, and I think I speak on the behalf of a lot of people in the audience, I personally believe, and William Shatner did fandom a terrible disservice with his Saturday Night Live skit in 1986, where he just took some vicious pot shots at fandom. I've talked about this with a lot of different people over the years, and there are some people that, well, it was Saturday Night Live, it was a skit, that's what they're supposed to do. Yet, at the same time, being a Star Trek fan my entire life myself, it hit home pretty hard for me. So it's always sort of been in the back of my mind when you are actually on the Paramount lot, you're shooting real Star Trek. Do you have that skit in the back of your mind about, as you go to these conventions, just what you might get into? You've not had any bad convention experiences, I hope. I hope.
Who's that?
I
Actually,
I have no idea.
We haven't had any bad experiences, but I think that, I don't, personally, we didn't really think about that skit too much about anything because we were not on the receiving end of it. So, but I think that, the fans and everybody, they're kind of strong enough to weather that. I mean, it's just kind of bump in the road for what I had to say. We did pretty good.
I've always said, well, I'll tell you this way. When I went to one of these events like a supper, from soap operas, yes? I'd never been to an event there. And there are so many of them, a small gathering of people, et cetera, et cetera. So, but what struck me was how important that window could be to people, especially people who cannot walk, people who cannot move, people who cannot speak. I mean, all of that. And if I had ever thought for a single moment about the power of television, or in any way diminish what good work does happen, then it disabused me of any of the other notions, and therefore, that this notion of fan, you complete the thought that without you, we would never be. That the power and the good of any of it belongs to you. So I never had any other notions, vertically especially, about meeting people who want to dress as or be as, because you complete the thought. It's very, very powerful. And certainly the thing that has attracted me to do more of these things, besides as the world turns, is to meet people, because that is the most important.
One of the things that the cast from the original series has enjoyed is that they have had the opportunity to reprise their characters, it seems, numerous occasions beyond the end of their series. Now that the Star Trek franchise seems to be going back to the era of Kirk and Spock, it would seem to me that we may have pretty much seen the last of Worf and Sisko. Are the two of you happy with the final resolution of your characters? Would you have liked to have seen your character go farther? Although I don't know how much farther Sisko might have gone.